Hi, Paris Accord clip 15b on the green agenda. And this is a short video. I just want to explain to you about the Paris Accord, Paris Climate Change Accord. Now remember Regina, I mentioned before, Regina K. Pachauri was a railway engineer, and he was appointed head of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. And he admitted that climate change had become a religion with him. It had no reason in his head at all. And as I say, it's impossible to reason somebody out of something which they were never reasoned into. Now, another man was Dieter Helm, who gave a speech in Oxford, in Trinity College a few years ago, and he's an energy professor in Oxford University. Now, Dieter pointed out at the time that China was opening 2 coal-fired power stations every week. For many years they were doing this, and what they were doing is they were raising up the capacity so that when they negotiate on Paris, they could agree to cut it. It wasn't a genuine cut at all. Now President Trump pulled out of the Paris Climate Change Agreement in 2007. Now, one of the things that you may think is that the Paris Climate Accord was designed to cut emissions. It had nothing to do with cutting emissions at all. It had nothing to do with cutting emissions at all. What it did was, it took the gross domestic product of a country. I think it's the gross domestic product or the gross national product, it doesn't matter. Took the production of the country and it divided it by the population to get per capita use of fossil fuel and thereby CO2 emissions. So if you divided this figure here by 100 million, you got that size. If on the other hand you divided it by 50 million, you got a bigger size. You see it here? You got a bigger size. So if you divide a billion, let's say, by 100 million, you get a certain figure. If you divide it by 50 million, you get half. You get double that. So the least people who use the resource, the more per capita, the more per head they actually use. Now, that's all the Paris climate change was. If you were a high per capita user, you were fined, you were prevented from using fuel, and you had to buy carbon credits and all this crack. If you were a low one, you could continue on as if there was no tomorrow. And you hear them talking about business as usual. India can continue to emit irrespective of the amount forever under the Paris Climate Accord. China can continue to emit for 12 years as it wishes. Whereas Ireland, Europe, Britain, America, Canada and New Zealand, all those countries, Australia, were banned, were blocked from doing it. So clearly only some countries signed, and America pulled out of it in 2017. And naturally enough, Ireland is a faithfully there with Europe and Angela Merkel and all of these, with her 209 billion euros debt. And one of the effects of this can be seen in the quality of parts. And there's a couple of suppliers of tractor parts and digger parts in the country, and I do have occasion to go into their premises and into their stores. And there's no longer any German or British parts there. They're all marked India. All the crankshafts and all are marked India. And in fact, a lot of gearboxes are being made in India. And people who repair gearboxes will tell you that the quality's gone way down. They're finding pieces of sandstone and pieces of hairs and pieces of wood embedded in the actual parts of the shafts, and sand, and poor quality and poor hardening and poor quality parts. Now, I'm not knocking them completely, but it shows you that this is effective. They're driving production, manufacturing out of America, Canada, Europe, Australia and New Zealand, if they could. With the result is that you have very high energy costs here in Ireland, and you have very high carbon costs, and they're going to add more carbon taxes in the autumn of 2019. Right? So this is the obsession there is. Ireland only uses something like, I think it's 0.04% of the world's fossil fuel, and yet we're to the forefront. because our government always likes to have Ireland punching above its weight. Oh, paddies, and we're tops, and we're paying for it, and they're getting increases in their salaries even recently again. So you can see, and that's very important to understand, that the Paris Climate Accord, to repeat myself again, had nothing to do with cutting CO2 emissions at all. It was all to do with redistributing wealth, and that was to placate, to satisfy the communists who now have hold of our government. I don't know who supported them. They're getting votes. The Greens got votes in the last European election, and Fine Gael, which is a communist party in many ways, got a lot of votes too. So unless we alter this, we're on the road to poverty, no jobs, or nothing. We're on the road to a terrible future by this false green agenda, which is why I fight it. So thank you very much. That's one of the shortest yet, and we'll leave it at that for today, and maybe come back in a few days with something new. Thank you very much.